Okay, Fast Food Nation, such a great book and so many different topics addressed. Let's start on 49. This is the chapter, Your Trusted Friends. I love the titles of his chapters. Your Trusted Friends, kind of ironical. This is the page where he says the ethos of McDonaldland and Disneyland, never far apart, have finally become one. Now you can buy a Happy Meal at the happiest place on earth. Put that in your notes. Let's keep going. 51, McTeachers and Coke dudes. He talks quite a bit about how uh, he believes that the last advertising free outpost of American life should be the schools, but the fast food industry is even encroaching on that. Okay, you should be able to come here and be relatively free of advertising. Let's fast forward. He talks about the evils of the soda companies. Make sure you know that. On page 54, he says a medium Coke that sells for $1.29 contains roughly 9 cents worth of syrup. Buying a large Coke for $1.49 instead, as the cute girl behind the counter always suggests, will add another 3 cents worth of syrup and another 17 cents in pure profit for McDonald's. Okay. So he calls it liquid candy. So are they making a ton of money on their burgers? Yeah, but they're making more money on the soda, and they're making even more money on the real estate. Let's fast forward to chapter 3, behind the counter. Some of my students are behind the counter. He tries to use, if you go to 61, Space Mountain, Colorado Springs as an archetype. Colorado Springs, he says, is what LA was 50 years ago. It's a mecca for the disenchanted middle class, a harbinger of cultural trends, a glimpse of the future. Right, so you drive through Colorado Springs, you would probably see, the same crap that we see here: Walmart, McDonald's, Burger King, Applebee's. He talks a lot about the DoD and its influence, Department of Defense. This is 62, 63. He talks about even the OC Register, our newspaper, and their ties to conservative Republicans. He uses the term on page 67, throughput. Make sure you know what that is. No other industry in the United States has a workforce so dominated by adolescents. Again, he has a problem with that. On page 71, he talks about stroking at a 1999 conference on food service equipment. Top American executives from BK, McDonald's, and Tricone Global Restaurants, the owners of Taco Bell, I call it Taco Hell because I got food there once and then got sick. Pizza Hut and KFC appeared together on a panel to discuss labor shortages, employee training, computerization, and the latest kitchen technology. The three corporations now employ about 3.7 million people worldwide, operate about 60,000 restaurants, and open a new fast food restaurant every 2 hours. It's insane. They try to write the directions at a 5th grade level for the restaurants. That's how I try to write my 10th grade English 2 regular quizzes. We find out on page 74, Taco Hell. I'm just making a joke. Taco Bell is not bad. Taco Bell had systematically coerced its crew members into working off the clock in order to avoid paying them overtime. Hey, I know you got here for your 10 a.m. shift, but if you could not clock in until it gets busy, that would be great. And by the way, we're going to pay you not in money, but burritos and quesadillas. Let's fast forward again. Inside Jobs, page 83. Inside Jobs, I like that title because most of the crimes committed against fast food industry, specifically the McDonald's, the BKs, are done by employees. Hey, if I'm only making minimum wage, but if I know the combination of the safe, or I know when the manager locks up, or I know where he leaves the keys, if you get fired and then a few months later you could have a break-in and it's an inside job. On page 84, He talks about one incident, another California anecdote. Not long ago, the day manager of McDonald's in Moorpark, California, recognized the masked gunman emptying the safe. It was the night manager. Page 87, he talks about a former McDonald's employee. It was the manager's first day in the job. A former employee at a McDonald's in Vallejo, California. How come these are all happening in California? Do we live in a crazy place or what? He shot 3 women who worked at the restaurant after being rejected for a new job. One of the women was killed, and the murderer left the restaurant laughing. These are all inside jobs. Let's fast forward to chapter 4, success. This is kind of cool because he does talk about the success stories of some of these, like Little Caesars. He uses, if you go to 93, uses a former NHL player as sort of an archetype for the franchise owner. He gets injured, he has to quit professional hockey. So what does he do? Puts a franchise. But he does talk about in this chapter the American way and success. On page 94, Devotion to a New Faith. Becoming a franchisee is an odd combination of starting your own business and going to work for someone else. At the heart of a franchise agreement is desired by 2 parties to make money while avoiding risk. Okay, so if I open my own taco restaurant, I'm taking all the risk, right? But if I open a Taco Bell or a Del Taco, I'm a big fan of Del Taco, and then Del Taco carries some of the risk, some of the burden, because if my franchise doesn't make it in Aliso Viejo, then I don't take all the burden of the risk. They burden some of that. By the way, the Del Taco and Aliso Viejo will never go bankrupt because I go there so often. It's won by Raising Cane's. Page 96, he talks about how McDonald's Corporation is a landlord. Okay. Yes, we are not basically in the food business. Sunborn once told a group of Wall Street investors expressing an unsentimental view of McDonald's that Kroc never endorsed. We are in the real estate business. So they are hamburger slingers, but they are also slumlords. And then we talked about the franchising and the imitators on page 97. The enormous success of McDonald's spawned imitators not only in the fast food industry, but throughout America's retail economy. Franchising proved to be a profitable means of establishing new companies in everything from the auto parts business to the weight control business. And I drove through there, and there was shopping center was O'Reilly's Auto Parts. I was like, how do these 2 auto parts companies make it in the same place? Apparently they do. Okay. Franchising. Let's fast forward again. We're still on Dave Feimster. He's an important archetype for Little Caesars and the franchisee. And chapter 5, I love the title again, Why the Fries Taste So Good. Talks a lot about J.R. Simplot, okay, in his plant in Aberdeen, Idaho. He's a great potato baron. You know, wouldn't it be cool if like you were the kid or the son or daughter of like an oil tycoon, right? Be like you show up to school in your limo and you go home and play tennis in your backyard, okay? But wouldn't it be cooler because oil is, you know, frowned upon in our society today? If you were the son or daughter of a great potato baron, who's gonna argue against that, right? Don't we all love French fries? Then we learned about dehydrating. This is in chapter 5. That's going to be very important. On page 113, the Caldwell facility became the largest dehydrating plant in the world. J.R. Simplot used the profits earned as a military contractor to buy potato farms and cattle ranches, to build fertilizer plants and lumber mills, to stake mining claims, and open a huge phosphate mine on the Fort Hall Indian Reservation. By the end of World War II, Simplot was growing his own potatoes, fertilizing them with his own phosphate, processing them at his factories, shipping them in boxes from his lumber yards, and feeding the leftover potato scraps to the cattle. He was 36 years old. And then by the 1950s, this became the golden age of food processing. This is when people started, after World War II, eating frozen TV dinners. So chapter 5 has a lot of good stuff in it. The fallacy of composition, It's a logical error, a mistaken belief that what seems good for an individual will still be good when others do the same thing. For example, this is on page 119. Someone who stands at a crowded concert may get a better view of the stage, but if everyone at the concert stands up, nobody's view is improved. Since the end of World War II, farmers in the United States have become persuaded to adopt one new technology after another, hoping to improve their yields, reduce their costs, and outsell their neighbors. By embracing this industrial model of agriculture, Eric Schlosser says, one that focuses narrowly on the level of inputs and outputs, that encourages specialization in just one crop, that relies heavily on chemical fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, okay, all these sides, they cannot be good. Advancing harvesting and irrigation equipment, American farmers have become the most productive farmers on earth. Every increase in productivity, however, has driven more American farmers off the land. It's ironic. So definitely read chapter 5. It's awesome.